Now, what phase am I in right now? Have you got any thoughts about someone who perhaps isn't happy with where they are in the phase of their life and what they can do to transition from one phase to another, or if you should be focusing on that at all?
Well, that's an excellent question, and so I understand it in two parts as you've asked it, and I hope I'll answer it correctly. The first part is what phase are they in their life? Phase, in my parlance, will be different than what we might call situation, right? So if you're asking me about phase in my parlance, that is dictated by the growth of your life, your tree. You're a tree, right? You're going to be about 80 years old as a tree. That's as far as, we're going to go. So if there are four phases, and, I would guess you are in the journey work phase in this, you're somewhere between 25 and 45. That would be my guess, right? Now, now that you are in the journey work phase, if you were to look into life as a craft, as we've described it, and look at what is the journey work phase, which, by the way, is the endurance phase, and you can read and learn more about what that means. You're going through that. You've got the heat of the sun on your back all day long, and you're going through, and you're banging, and you need endurance, you need strength. At any given moment, and you can't change that. I mean, basically what we're saying is that phase of your life is that phase of your life. I mean, because it's built on a chronology. If you're inside a situation inside that phase, a daily situation, most of the times when somebody looks and they may be unhappy about the situation, in the way of craftsmanship, in the traditions of the craftsmanship of the world, what the masters usually teach the journeymen that they are working in that workshop is that when you're at a moment of an encounter whereby you're not pleased with where you are, that means you're frustrated with, or something is not working correctly, they take you usually through a 3-step process. And this is something that people might be able to use from the way of craftsmanship. First, you will effectively try to identify what is it that has just blocked me. Now, is it the material that I'm working with, which could be oneself, that is not responding in the manner that I would like it to? And so I need to understand further what is the state or status of this material. And what that journeyman would do from the master's training, it was engage others to look at that material with them, others who from the outside. The second would be, if it's not the material, is it the process that you are applying? So let's take a look at the process. So now you go through, what is it that you're doing? Yes. And the process is, this isn't working. Okay. So let's take a look at where is it breaking down? So in a factory or workshop, you're going to look at those process steps. And once again, you help others to come in and look and see how's that process working, right? Well, how do we untangle it? And the third thing they'll say is, well, if it's not the material, if the material's okay, and if the process you're doing is okay, what tools are you using at this moment for this situation and circumstance? Or aren't you using any tools at all, which might be part of the problem, right? Which tools are you using? Have you trained in those tools? Are you using the tools skillfully? And or meaning, are you applying too much pressure or not enough pressure? So those three components, right? The material, the process, and the tools, in every craft situation I have encountered, and I've read thousands of them, all seem to come down to this. So taking it back to the person who might be in a situation that they're not happy with in their life at the moment, no matter what phase you are in the way of craftsmanship, look at the material. Do you need to learn more? Look at the process. Do you need to learn or modify how you're doing? Or look at the tools or lack thereof. And when you look at those three things, you normally say, geez, it's one of those things. Now let me get help. Because in the way of craftsmanship, you always bring in your peers and your masters to help you work through to improve your skill and get to the next stage.
Or maybe a mentor, right?
Beg your pardon?
Or maybe a mentor.
Oh, absolutely. Well, this is where now a master crafts person might be acting in the role of a mentor. So getting back to the idea that mentorship is a phase in our lives, there is a phase called mentorship, but the act of mentoring is throughout our whole life. We mentor apprentices, We journey workers, in the traditions of journey work, are mentors to one another. Journey workers are mentors to apprentices. Masters are mentors to journey workers. So mentoring in that regard, teaching, but teaching in the way of teaching in a structured way, not just this off the top of your head, blah, blah, blah stuff that goes on all over the internet. That's not real. That's not authentic. It's not structured. It's not your trade. So there's a Chinese phrase that says, when you find a good teacher,